insurance agents from around the world. Hey guys, this is Scott Howell with the Insurance Guys podcast. Hey, let's talk about client experience for just a minute. Guys, we have got to start meeting our clients where they want to be met, not where you want to be met. This isn't about you. Okay, I know we would all love it to be about us. It's about our clients. We got to start meeting them where they want to be met. I understand some of you want them to call the office. That's great. For those people that want that, that's fantastic. Every year, more and more people want to jump on a mobile app. They want to download their ID cards. They want easy. They want speed. They don't want to come by and drink coffee and talk to you for 45 minutes. Okay. One of the easiest ways you can do this is through your agency branded self-service platform. Guys, that's where GloveBox comes in. A carrier connected agency branded tool for your clients. Call today. Get a demo with GloveBox. Mention the Insurance Guys podcast to get 20% off for the life of your agency branded CXP. Guys, let's go meet our clients where they want to be met. Easy, speed. Have a great day.
Hey guys, it's Bradley. Every now and then a company comes across my desk that not only blows my mind in what they're able to accomplish, but we implement that particular technology in Portal and it completely changes the way we do business. That's happened a few times with a few different companies. And it happened this year with Ascend. In case you don't know, Ascend saves agent time by simplifying the time-consuming process of collecting payments, premium financing, and carrier payables without the back and forth paperwork, integrated right into your checkout experience where customers can pay how they want. Credit, debit, ACH. Own the entire customer experience. It's branded to your agency and offer a modern checkout experience that your customers want. Ascend will also, this is the big one for me, automatically pay the provider, the carrier, the MGA, so you don't have to deal with the payables. It turns agency bill into direct bill. It combines the benefits of agency bill, owning the experience, with the convenience of direct bill. Don't have to worry about collections, payables, so you get the best of both worlds. And the best part is there's no subscription, no fee, and no cost to the agents. Stop wasting time on payments so you can focus on growing your business. Go to useascend.com/insurance guys. I'm telling you guys, this is not just a promotion. This company is going to change the insurance industry. They've already changed Portal. Useascend.com/insurance guys. That's USEASCEND.com/insurance guys. Tell them we sent you. Thanks.
Insurance agents from around the world, welcome to the Insurance Guys podcast. My name is Scott Howell, your fearless host and leader, insurance agency owner and insurance evangelist for I Protect Insurance and Financial Services, based out of Huntsville, Alabama. And before we get started on today's episode, please help me welcome. He is a 6'3" sophomore from Saraland, Alabama, parade first team All-American, Rivals 5-star recruit. He is a fantastic insurance agent and a great American. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome the incomparable Mr. Bradley Flowers. How are you, Bradley?
Great, Scott. How are you today?
Best I have ever been. 3 hours of forensics accounting this morning, ladies and gentlemen. There is nothing on this earth that I would rather do than forensics accounting.
Rather go through a workers' comp audit, wouldn't you?
It's my passion. Some people watch and follow the New York Jets, Alabama football, fly fishing, bear hunting, whatever it may be. My passion is forensics accounting. That's what I do on my off time. Bradley?
Scott?
Severe weather day today. Supposed to be tornadoes all over the place tonight. I think we're at an SPC 4 out of 5. 5 means you're going to die. So we're right below 5. The wind outside my office is blowing at a steady 37 miles an hour right now. Do you have any thoughts and feelings on today's state of Alabama's severe weather outbreak? Where are we at with that?
My airplane is supposed to take off right when the bad weather starts. So that's the only thing
What if this is the last podcast?
Oh, dear God, don't go there. Don't go there.
Bradley, you've got to answer this question.
Okay.
What do you want me to say when I walk up to the podium at your funeral? which will be about, what's today, Wednesday? So that'll be about probably Monday of next week.
I don't have any life insurance, so it'll be podunk.
You're lying. I don't believe you. What would you like for Scott to say when I get up there?
I don't know, but I just know that I want you to do it.
Make it up as you go.
And just make sure that you don't get Jason Cass to replace me.
I understand. Well, guys, we've got a great podcast for you today. I asked and the people spoke. I asked the question to multiple agents. I said, guys, what do you guys want to hear a podcast about? And I had CJ Hudsonpiller came back and he said, dear sweet baby Jesus, we get 700 questions a day in Insurance Soup about high value automobiles, how to insure them, what carriers, those types of things. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the man on this podcast today that can answer all those questions. This is what he does. And it's important to note, this is your podcast. You as in the listener. This 100%. This is y'all's show. We love when people reach out to us and say, hey, have you done an episode on this subject, or would you do an episode on this subject? Sure, absolutely. Don't confuse that with would you interview me on the show, but would you do an episode on this subject? And we may have something coming out really soon that solves the first question of have you done an episode on the show that remains to be announced. But it is your show. So moving forward, if there's something you guys want to hear, let us know. Absolutely. Call Scott's personal cell phone. That's right. Call my personal cell phone. Ask me what you want to hear. Guys, it's our job on this podcast. Our mission on this podcast is to help you agents any way we can and to row the boat just a little closer to the lighthouse. I cannot tell you how pissed off I'm going to be the next time I look on Insurance Soup and some dum-dum has asked a question about insuring high-value vehicles, because I'm just going to post this episode in the comment section. That's what I'm going to do. So without further ado, please allow me to give our guest the introduction that he has always deserved. He was born and raised in Houston, Texas, and he currently resides in Lago Vista, Texas. I want to visit there sometime. He is married to the beautiful Paige, and he is a graduate of Texas A&M, majoring in fire science and fire engineering, which led to his career as a fireman for the Ponderosa Fire Department in Houston, Texas. His passion for our country and the freedoms that we have led him to serve in the United States Army as an infantryman with the 3rd Infantry Division. Thank you for your service, sir. Upon fulfilling his contract with the U.S. Army, he studied applied science and criminal justice at Odessa College, and he has graduated from the Odessa College Law Enforcement Academy and fulfilled a childhood dream of becoming a police officer with the city of Odessa. In 2014, he began his career in insurance with State Farm, and through hard work and dedication, his office earned a place as one of the top 50 agencies in America. In 2017, he made the decision to open his own independent agency, Bordman Insurance Services, where he currently serves as the agency owner with an emphasis on exotic, high-end automobiles. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my profound honor today to introduce to you first-time guest on the IGP, Mr. Kenneth Bordman. How are you, Kenny?
Man, I'm good. How are you, sir?
Man, I'm the best I've ever been. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your service to our country. It means a lot to me, and it means a lot to Bradley.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me, man.
You are a man. Well, let's just, before we get into exotic high-end vehicles, racing vehicles, track race teams, all this other stuff, I want to hear the story. And where the story begins is 2 big old boys climbing in my DeLorean right now. And let's go back in time to around 2014. Talk about how you got into the insurance industry and kind of bring us up to today.
For sure, man. So it's kind of a wild story. When I left law enforcement, I had gotten a divorce and kind of didn't know what I was going to do, man. I'd done, 3 things to help my country and my people, and I loved helping people. And so I moved from Odessa to Austin. My brother lived here, and I kind of ran my family's car wash business for 6 or 8 months. And me and my brother didn't see eye to eye and running a running a business together and we had different ideas. And so I said, I need to do something else. My uncle was a agent for Allstate years and years and years ago. And I knew that he had done very well. And he sold his Allstate agency years and years and years ago. And he specialized in trucking. He retired at right over 40 years old and never worked again in his life and was good to go. And so that kind of, I kind of remember that. I called my Uncle Royce and I said, hey, what's this insurance stuff about? And I had a long conversation with him and it intrigued me. And so I applied at some places and got hired on at State Farm for an agent in Austin and got some training. Then went into the aspirant program. And when it came down, grew a very big agency. When it came to, hey, you're going to have to sell mortgages, you're going to have to sell credit cards and bank accounts and auto loans. And, I think the big one was, they came in and said, hey, we partner with BlackRock. You need to do investments and take people's life savings. And man, I just couldn't imagine, Grandma Susie, some 80-year-old lady coming in if the market took a tank and her screaming and yelling that I lost her entire life savings. Right. And I just said, I can't do this, man. I'm out.
A lot of people had that same heartburn.
Yep. It was hard to stomach, man. I left a very big paycheck and I just couldn't do it. I was just angry every day when I went to work, and so my wife now, who was my girlfriend at the time, every day would say, just quit, just leave. I was like, I can't, what am I going to do? And so, finally she typed up my resignation letter on a thumb drive and handed it to me and said, you need to get out of there. You're angry. You're coming home angry. And so I did. I quit. And then a few months later, opened my independent agency and knew exactly what I wanted to do. We don't do anything that I didn't like at State Farm. We don't do here.
Right. Hey, let me say this to all you agents out there, especially guys and girls who went captive at one time and then went over to the independent channel. One of the common denominators I've noticed is anytime somebody's doing something they don't like as a captive, they always don't do it when they go independent. Every time.
Nope, we don't, man. And people call and, they're like, hey, you do health insurance. Hey, do you do this? I'm like, nope, we sure don't. I can tell you somebody that does, but we don't do it here. I learned through State Farm is that they wanted us to do a lot of things. And I'm pretty in my wheelhouse now. If we don't do it, we're not going to do it.
It's a good position to be in. We've gotten there recently in the last year of like knowing exactly the things that we are good at, that we want to do, and also the things that we either don't do well or what have you. And, an example I give is somebody reached out, and that doesn't mean you don't venture out every now and then and try new niches to see maybe, hey, let's dip our toe in this water and see maybe, hey, is this something that we could potentially build a niche in? But I definitely wouldn't do like one-off type things. I think that's where you get messed up, I think, is when you do a one-off deal and you don't plan on actually building a niche around that. And it's not a situation where it's a family member or a good referral partner or something like that. I'm trying to remember what it was. Somebody reached out to me reached out to one of our agents this week. And the agent came to me and was like, hey, could we do this? It was something weird. I know people would find it entertaining. But my answer to him was, hey, the amount of time it's going to take us to, I know what it was. It was a, shoot, I got it. I have it right here. It wasn't funny, but I said the amount of time it's going to take us to research how to even do that. Mobile pet grooming business.
Wow.
I was like, that sounds like something that probably has an okay premium on it, but anything, you guys know anything that involves mobile, things get a little sketchy, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
But like one of our small niches that we do is non-emergency medical transport. We do some of that and it gets a little hairy sometimes, but I told the guys, like, the amount of time it's going to take us to research just how to do that. Like, not only are there 15 deals that whoever I assign that to is going to like miss out on because they're researching this stupid pet grooming thing, but the customer is going to be over there like pissed off because I haven't gotten them a rate yet. and then it's going to reflect poorly on us. You know what I mean? So that's when I love it that you're in a position of like, hey, here's the things that we do, and we do these really well. And we really don't do anything outside of this.
Yeah. And that came from, kind of like you just said, when I opened my independent agency, it was, let's write everything that we can because we needed to make money, right? We have to live. I had bills to pay, and it was, oh, you're a contractor and you need a certificate. Yeah, let's write it. Oh, next week you're canceling it. And I've learned through the, trials and tribulations of those several first years of, hey, let's really do some investigation on these discovery calls and let's see what we're doing to not get burned and not get these chargebacks. And so now I'm to the point of, hey, if it's not in our wheelhouse, we're not going to do it. And I'll flat out tell people.
Scott, how do you feel about contractors?
Alt right contractor. Liars and thieves. Them some bitches will stand there and lie to they'll climb a damn tree to lie.
What's is it the Ron Swanson that's like, every contractor is a miserable thief or something?
Yeah,
like
I hate to paint with a broad brush, but every contractor's a liar and a thief. And I hate to say that, guys. I just haven't had very good luck with them.
Dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. I have right now I have 2 clients that are stiffing me on payments on agency bill accounts, which has never happened before. And I have 1 that attempted fraud, and all 3 of them are contractors.
It never fails, man. It's like every one that we had that was either, I learned my first agency bill, bound a policy, check bounced. Oh, got burned on that minimum earned premium years ago. So I learned my lesson there. And then I started learning my lesson of these guys just cancel their insurance. They just want a COI. Or they get a COI and then they go make their own.
One of those guys I sent to collections, and the collection agency is working on contingency, and the guy's hired an attorney, and they're like just hoping that they can be mean enough that we'll go away. I'm like, dude, this guy's working on contingency. Like, we will just keep going. Like, I don't have anywhere else to be,
I don't understand how people write contractors because, okay, every standard carrier in America is going to audit their policy at the end of the term, right? And the chances of them giving you an accurate amount, whether it's payroll and their, gross revenue when you start the policy is like 0.
I'm going to go negative. We're going to go under 0 because there is
negative,
no chance.
negative 35 that they're going to give you the accurate amount. Then when the carrier does just a little bit of due diligence and gets all their stuff in after the audit's over, and they get a bill for $5,000, $6,000 from the previous term, you would think that, oh my gosh, I'm not paying it. This is bullshit. I'm going somewhere else.
I have a theory on that.
I don't understand how anybody ever writes them and keeps them on the books.
I have a theory on that. I think it could be one of 3 things. One, when you're in a niche, it's really easy to weed out the BS. So I think if your niche is contractors, it's probably really easy for Kenny to realize when somebody's high value car and has a high value car, but they're not going to be a great client. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For example, we all know David Carruthers. He has these are the prerequisites in order to do business with our agency. I need this. If you don't get one of those, okay, sorry, we can't do business. You know what I mean? So there's little cues and things like that. For example, us, when we do a lot of trucking, like there's certain things that are red flags to us. If we have too many of those, we're going to walk away from it. So I think it's that. I think it's having enough volume to offset the idiots. I think that's the big one. And I think the third one is some of these agencies that have the auto owners and the Cincinnatis and the Frankenmoots and those sorts of Westfield. I don't know if they do contractors, but these sort of like, high end carriers that the message is reiterated to the client, like, hey, this is the best dang policy you can buy for a contractor for what you do. Don't screw it up, basically. I think that's part of it as well. And then everybody else can go to Next Insurance. Like, you know what I mean?
All right, Kenny, here we go. Agents, get your pen and paper out. Write this shit down. We're about to get into the getting right now. So let's talk about high-end vehicles, your niche, what you do, racing vehicles, expensive vehicles. We have questions. You have answers. So first and foremost, I guess the first question I would ask is, what type of vehicles are considered high-end or high value?
I think that question really depends on the
3 Series BMW.
Some people would say that's a high-end vehicle. And I think it really depends on who you ask, right? If you're asking me what a high-end vehicle is, it's going to be something different than you, Scott, or you, Bradley, or the thousands of people in Soup, right? Some people think a BMW is a high-end vehicle. I personally would never own one, wouldn't buy one, don't think they're high-end vehicles. But for what we're talking about on this podcast is, an exotic, let's say a Lamborghini, Ferrari, McLaren, Pagani, there's Bugatti, there's several others out there. And some people, especially with this car market, the used car market, I'm sure you're all aware of what's happened in the past couple of years and how vehicles values have just gone through the roof. By the way, people's premiums have gone up because of that too. If no one's noticed, listen to this podcast, it's an insurance. Very easy explanation for your clients. We insured a Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon the other day, and I want to say we insured it for right at about $280,000, agreed value policy. That vehicle, if you were to buy it 2 years ago, before COVID and inflation and the market went absolutely nuts, you would pay MSRP. You cannot go buy a G-Wagon today for MSRP. They're $100,000 over market adjustment. And so that kind of now falls into what we do because it's on an agreed value policy. You could say a high value vehicle. If you were to buy that G-Wagon, today for $280,000 and total it tomorrow, or it burns to the ground tomorrow, but MSRP is 180, you got a pretty big difference there, losing some money, right? So high value, it's, we insure a lot of high value stuff, but to go, typically you're going to look at agreed value policies for things that are going to fit there. And some things won't, like, if you said, hey, a Maserati, you can go buy a Maserati for 30 grand.
Right.
It's the Honda Civic exotic cars, right?
Right.
Ghibli's $30,000 used, but you have a lot of carriers that won't take it.
Yeah.
Driving a Maserati right now, just listen to that, and his head dropped, and he changed the station.
I feel that all the time, man. It's the Honda Civic of exotics.
If he's an insurance agent, he's probably not driving a Maserati, I wouldn't think. I mean, he might, but Kenny, tell me this. If I'm going to be an insurance agent and one of my clients walks in and they just purchased a brand new Ferrari, number one, what special coverages am I going to need to put on exotic vehicles that I wouldn't have to worry about with just like Bradley said, a Honda Civic or something?
For sure. So the big one is the agreed value coverage.
Okay.
Typically on a Safeco, Travelers, MetLife, Progressive, you name it, those policies, they can't account for an exotic value. They're based on a number of things, ACV being one, the big one. So when you write an exotic car, a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, a McLaren, those cars need to be an agreed value per the market, right? You could do them off the buyer's order, which right now in this market is probably a good thing to do because they're just selling way over what sticker price is.
Do most carriers require, because you're going on agreed value, for you to submit to the carrier something showing,
yes,
maybe where they bought it and how much they paid
Yep.
for it and that kind of thing?
Yes, they will. Typically, they will ask for a buyer's order, because we do so much of it and we really, know the market. We don't really get asked for buyer's order much anymore. Years ago when we started doing it, we got asked for buyer's orders all the time because they want to make sure that you know the market on the cars. And so, yes, a buyer's order, and it depends on the carrier too and the value. If you're over 500,000 in value, Hagerty, private client services, a lot of people don't know about Hagerty PCS. It's the easiest process. We have a direct underwriter over there. We can literally send her a name, a VIN number, and a couple other, a buyer's order, market value on the car, or a receipt, a invoice. If the car's had a lot of work done or we're trying to prove value, you can just shoot that over. We use a lady named Brooke. She's direct, and anything over 500,000 premium comes in really, really well. The benefits that they give over at Hagerty PCS for those cars, they're second to none. You're not going to find another carrier that does claims like they do and does all the roadside and parts, and they do a cherished salvage value. So if the car gets totaled, you can keep the car and they still pay you the whole agreed value.
Wow.
And is that, I know Hagerty, it's really not the regular Hagerty. It's not supposed to be your daily driver,
Correct,
so to speak, but is that not the case with private client services?
Yes and no. Let me put it this way. If you have over $500,000, let me back up. If you have an exotic car, right, a Lamborghini, a McLaren, whatever, on an agreed value policy with Hagerty, American Modern, American Collectors, Grundy, they're supposed to be low mileage, pleasure use only vehicles, right? Use them to go to Cars and Coffee on Sunday or a show or a parade.
Drive around or something like on the weekend.
Yeah, on the weekend you run to, the Sonic and get an ice cream or whatever you do, the car show. That's what they're supposed to be used for. When you go to Hagerty PCS and you have that over 500,000 in value, and let's say you have that G-Wagon that we talked about earlier that you paid $100,000 over, you can drive that G-Wagon as much as you want with Hagerty PCS.
Gotcha.
Your Lamborghini and your McLaren, there's still a mileage limit on those. But once you reach that 500,000 in value, they can put a couple other cars on there. They'll also do, if you have a big collection, they'll do your tow vehicle, they'll do your trailer. If you're hauling vehicles to shows or whatever, Hagerty PCS will do those with no mileage limitations on those as well.
How do you insure somebody like say you lived in Los Angeles and there's probably a high value insurance agent out there, but where you have like rock stars and movie stars and not thought leaders, but like social media thought leaders who are like their everyday car is a Ferrari.
So we insure quite a few people like that.
Yeah.
One of them is a YouTube star. He's got about 20 million subscribers over all of his channels. The kid daily drove a Lamborghini.
Yep.
And he was not, he had 6 or 7 cars, but he wanted to drive this Lamborghini. It's a $900,000 SVJ, and he wanted to daily drive it. And this is what I'm going to do.
Right.
He was also 24 years old. So I don't know if y'all know about writing exotics and things on agreed value policies with American Modern and American Collectors and Hagerty.
I know what Bradley's about to ask.
Expensive policy.
How much is give me a ballpark on that. 24 years old.
I bet he didn't have a clean driving record either.
Can I guess?
Go take a guess.
Can I take a guess as to what the policy premium is a year?
All right, you guess, Scott, then I'm going to guess.
Take a guess.
Is this is it an annual or a semi-annual policy?
It is a semi-annual policy.
6 months. 6
Yep.
months. Okay. So for the year, we'll take both his terms and put them together. I'm going to guess $35,000
Okay.
a year.
I'm going to say $120,000.
It was right about $100,000.
Oh, I was way off.
Yeah. It was right about $100,000 premium for 4 or 5 cars.
That's amazing. So how did you get, like, if somebody's listening to this and they want to get started, I mean, every niche starts with one policy.
Yep.
Was this something, obviously I can tell you're very passionate about cars, that I'm sure that helps. How'd you kind of get into this and realize like, hey, this is what I want to do? And kind of speak to the listeners of like, if I'm a listener and I want to get into this, what would step 1 be for Joe Schmo or Jane Schmo?
Yeah. So, how it started for me, when I opened the independent agency, a friend of mine, and it's widely known, his name's Antonio Calvo, owns Calvo Motorsports. They build the world's fastest half-mile twin turbo Vipers. I mean, 3,000 plus horsepower Vipers that do 250 miles in a standing half a mile. He called me and he goes, "Hey man, Farmers dropped me for my shop insurance." I said, "Farmers insured your shop that builds the Vipers?" And he said, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, but when I got it, 2 years ago, the agent told me to take down my website for a week or whatever and kind of let it get." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Well, if y'all asked 1,000 insurance agents how to insure a high performance race car shop that builds 3,000 plus horsepower street legal cars, 1,000 insurance agents would tell you, "I have no idea." And they wouldn't take the time to research it. Cars were a huge passion of mine growing up. They always have been. I've had race cars. It's just what I do. I'm a huge car nut. And so I took a little time and started researching and found a carrier to insure that shop. And once I did that, it turned into, hey, we're building these Vipers that are $500,000 in value or more. They need insurance because State Farm and Travelers and Hagerty, they're not insuring these high horsepower cars, and they don't know what to do with them. And so I started doing some research. Hagerty won't take those things. But in my research, I figured out, hey, Hagerty takes these cars, these classics, some of these exotics, if they're pleasure use. And I figured out the underwriting guidelines for each carrier doing my research to start insuring these. And it turned into us really just diving down in that niche of insuring exotics and high performance cars. And I literally just researched carriers and I just read underwriting manuals. I like to read for fun. It's probably a weird thing. My wife tells me I'm a nut because I just like to read stuff and contracts. I love to read contracts to know what's in them. And so I just started reading guidelines and learned each carrier's guidelines about what they will and won't accept.
Kenny, who is your top 4 carriers if I want to write an exotic car in my agency? Who do I have to have as far as writing that stuff? I know Hagerty Private Client would be one of them.
Hagerty PCS, American Modern, and American Collectors.
That's your big 3.
Yeah, we can write through Grundy. We don't have any policies through Grundy. They have a really weird exclusion in their policy that I don't really agree with.
If the wheels are touching the ground, it's excluded from coverage.
Something like that. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to the grocery store during the week, or, hey, today it's, probably 85 degrees out here in Leander, Texas, right down the street from where I live at my office. It's beautiful and sunny, not a cloud in the sky. If I wanted to take my car out today that was insured with Grundy and drive it to my office and then drive it home and something happened, there's a chance they're going to ask what you were doing. And that is an exclusion in their policy. We don't write with them.
Okay. Next question. I got 2 very important questions that the podcasting listening audience is going to be all over. Question number 1, Scott wins the Powerball lottery next week. $720 million comes my way. Okay. No chance of that happening because I've got people stealing money from me. It's like they're in one of those clear fiberglass game show things where you grab the cash. That's basically all the accounts I have, both professionally and personally right now.
I was listening to that show.
I am literally 3 days away for filing for food stamps right now. So there's no danger of any of that happening for me. But let's just say I win the Powerball lottery next week, and I'm going to buy a high value exotic vehicle. You are an expert in these vehicles. What would you advise me to buy? And by the way, I'm 6'3", almost 6'4", so I got to be able to fit in it too.
You ain't fitting in a Lambo, I can tell you that.
Well, that's off the list.
I mean, I'm like 5'10", and Lambos are kind of cramped. Man, honestly, this is always, I get this question a lot, and it's really a tough one for me to answer because there is so many different things about each one, right? Some kids grew up looking at a red Ferrari as a poster on their wall. And if you told them, hey, if you want a ton of money, go buy a McLaren 720. And they're going to say, you're crazy. I want a red Ferrari. I've had one on a poster as my kid, as a kid, and I've wanted one forever. And there's so many different things about each car. I don't think you could really pick one brand or one model as the best, right? If I won 700 million, I'd go probably buy one of each that I liked. I'd go sit at them and I'd buy them and drive them, accordingly.
Right.
It really depends on what you want to do with the car.
Do you insure a lot of these Teslas that are out there? They just came out with a new
Plaid.
The Tesla Roadster that's going to do 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds and all that good stuff. Are you insuring any of those?
We do some Plaids, which is the one. Yeah, I think it came out, I don't know, 6-7 months ago. It's the fastest Tesla they make. And let me tell you what, it's fast.
Yeah.
I've been in one and they are, I've had some 1,000+ horsepower cars myself, and that Tesla's fast.
Yeah.
For an electric car, it throws you back in the seat. Stopping and handling, that's a different story. But
okay, next question. And I've been wanting to ask somebody this question since the day that Bradley and I were in New York interviewing Gary Vaynerchuk, and at the exact same time, not far from us, Tracy Morgan. Remember this story?
I do.
Did you hear the story, Kenny?
I haven't heard it.
Okay, so Tracy Morgan, Bradley, you may have to look this up for me because I can't remember which one he bought, but he bought something. It was a Bugatti, a high-end Ferrari. I don't remember which one it was. He rolls it out of the showroom floor onto the city streets of New York, and he gets hit. He's like 20 feet from the damn dealership front door, and he gets hit. So in that particular instance, what happens there? I guess he's outside of the dealership in downtown New York, so it's on him, right?
So, man, this is a tough one, right? So let's say that you have Travelers or Safeco. And Safeco they'll do some classic cars and some high value stuff, by the way. They do agreed value policies that are pretty good. Let's say you have this Bugatti that you bought and you roll out the dealership and you haven't put insurance on it yet because the dealership says, oh, you're covered. You got insurance. Right. So you pull out and that thing gets smacked and totaled. Do you really think they're going to pay $5 million for your car when you're paying $2,500 a year for insurance? No. We get people all the time because we've created relationships with dealerships, with Lamborghini, with Ferrari and Porsche and these high-end dealerships that we know the salespeople, we know the managers, and we have them call us before they take delivery of the car. So, because we need 24, 48 hours to insure those cars because of the way they have to be underwritten and looked at. We need photos. We still do get buyer's orders or if they're, if they sent a wire or who it's financed through, because we need to put lien holders on there. And we insure those things before they leave the dealership because we don't want that instance to happen to where they take delivery and they leave and, get hit. Granted, if you have AIG, Chubb, Cincinnati, Pure, if you've got some of these high net worth carriers, as they call them, already on your stuff, you're probably in a little bit better shape of getting that car covered.
Yeah. So, because another thing that you do that I found to be wildly interesting is you also insure racing cars and racing teams.
Yep.
Now, nobody's ever come to me. I think I had one guy one time that came to me wanting to insure a race car, like an actual get on the track, drive it.
Yep.
Who in the hell insures that?
K&K.
K&K.
K&K has a motorsports division. There's also Hagerty will do some on them, but they do take Accord forms. So it's like writing a commercial policy. Everybody hates Accords. I don't think I've ever met somebody that says, oh, I love doing Accords. But you insure the motor separate from the chassis on those cars. You can also, Lloyd's has a syndicate that'll do liability for them as well.
What are you insuring with On Track? Is it just liability?
You can do property damage too for the car.
Is there things that are excluded? Like if you're acting like a jackass and so it's just like regular, like on the road kind of.
Yep. The deductibles are a little bit higher. They're about 10% deductibles.
I bet. And I bet the premium is high as a giraffe's ass.
It is. We're probably one of 3 or 4 agencies in America that can do on-track stuff. Got a direct product that we work on. And for instance, let's say $150,000 car goes out for a weekend, 2 days on a track, a couple track sessions. It can be $1,500, $2,000 for 2 days.
That's what I was about to ask. Are you insuring it almost like an event policy per race, or is it a year?
So you can do it both ways. You can do annual policies, but it really doesn't make sense unless somebody's doing 6 or 7 track days a year to do that, or you can do it per event. We're working on something else right now because currently it's for a weekend. There's a company called Open Track that we write through also that does day policies, which they're a little bit better priced. So we're kind of trying to get some liability portion put on the day policies. Open Track just doesn't offer it. RLI does weekend policies, and they can do liability as well.
Can you imagine being the insurance agent that's like besties with like Richard Childress? And you've got, think about all the stuff you would have insured. Not only are you insuring the racing team and the facility and the transfer
workers comp, the
workers comp, the
accident, disability,
the transports, the car transports and all the transport carriers that they use to go race to race with. plus the RVs that are in the infield, plus probably the cars, the parts, I bet you there's $5 or $6 million in insurance paid out by those NASCAR racing teams a year.
We do some pretty big race teams. I can't say who they are, but we do some rather large race teams, and we do, on track stuff for race cars. We do inland marine for the tools, and the cars are insured on an inland marine as well. We do one we did the other day. It's called Streetcar Takeover, which is another cool event. They do 19 events a year, I think. They rent a drag strip. They do drag races. They do their kickoff parties in Kansas City, I think in 2 weeks or something. We insure half-mile events for race cars. They go to they go to airports, shut down an airstrip with the FAA, they get clearance. And they do half-mile races on these things for a day. And we do a bunch of stuff at COTA too. Circuit of the Americas here in Austin. Pretty cool place.
So there's a meme that goes around every now and then, and some of you guys and gals listening to this have seen it. And it basically says, client who, it's like $500 client. Hey, I'm sending you the money. I would really like to sit down and go over some due diligence and come visit your office. This is going to be a great partnership. I hope da 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 da. And then it says $50,000 client. Check sent. Thanks. Check sent. Thanks. And we have found that to be true in our agency, whereas you get some affluent clients or very successful clients. That's like, how much? Okay, yeah, let's go. And then you get what I call the pretenders who put you through hell, and it's like the worst experience ever. And we actually had one that was just being a jackass and trying to act like he was this big real estate mogul. And one of our people told him, she said, look, I know you're trying to act like some real estate bigwig, but we actually insure some real estate bigwigs, and they don't act the way that you act. Like, she just flat out put it on thick, So have you found that to be the case with a lot of these clients that are buying these vehicles? Is it more, are you getting some that are like very thorough and wanting you to shop rates every year, and they want to pay in cash every month? And because what the majority of us think, and we think a majority auto book is like, dear God, the service must be ridiculous, but I know it's probably not. And so do you get that? And you probably do have some of the pretenders too. The guy who's buying the Maserati that probably
it calls you after he bought it.
It should be, well, that you're probably getting the Maserati who should be in a Civic and that sort of thing. Like, talk about that kind of aspect of it.
Yeah. So, exotics and supercars, the doing it for the gram people and the flexers, go buy a McLaren 570. You can buy, or a MP4C, a 2012 MP4C, you can probably pick up for 90, 100 grand now, maybe a little more than 100. And you're driving a McLaren, right? You're cool and you're on the gram and you're flexing for your boys. And those guys,
those are the difficult ones.
They're the difficult ones. Or they have a claim and they total that McLaren a week later. And now it's on our loss ratio.
Or they're frustrated, or they stress premium because they really can't afford the car. Yep. And
so we've learned to weed those out. We've got some discovery things that we go through is, hey, what do you do for work? And if we find out that it's new, as we like to call new money, kids that are on YouTube or doing things for Instagram and social media influencers that are buying these cars, a lot of the times they can't make the payment on the car and the premium payments. And so a lot of the times we tell them up front, hey, we need a year paid in full.
Yeah, that's all.
If you're buying $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 car, what's the problem with paying $5,000 up front for a year insurance?
Right.
Give me a credit card number.
Yeah.
And we bill them up front and full for the year. Unless it's a client of ours that's been around for a while, and some of them want to do monthly, and so we'll do that for people that have been here a while that we're not really worried about. But we've weeded out the bad in the book. In service, those guys aren't buying and selling and trading cars, like your normal person of, hey, I keep a car for 6, 8, 12 months, 2 years, and then they go sell it and trade it in or whatever. The service work on those is very, very minimal. Most of the people just pay their bill, and we don't talk to them until next year, until their bills due.
Yeah. So second question to that, Do you find that the majority of the exotic cars that you insure are financed, or do they pay cash?
Most are
Or are they
financed.
leased?
Most are financed.
Most are
Actually,
financed.
in quite a few, there's, and this is pretty cool as a business owner, there's two companies, Putnam and Premier Finance. You can lease that car to your business, and the residual at the end of the lease, you can buy it for $1.
Keep talking.
As a business owner, they'll lease this car and they'll write off, because lease payments are 100% deductible if you're an LLC or whatever. Again, not financial advice, talk to your accountant probably, but you can write off a lease payment. And at the end of that lease, you can buy that car for $1, and now you personally own it. And some people do.
So you're financing it with the finance company personally, and then you're leasing it to your business. Explain that one more time.
Putnam is leasing it. So the business, let's just say Insurance Guys Podcast LLC wants to go buy a McLaren, right?
We do.
And you want to write off those lease payments. So you call up Putnam and you say, or Premier, and you say, hey, I want to buy this McLaren. It's $330,000 and I want to lease it to my business. My business is going to write it off. Again, probably ask your accountant before you do this.
Yeah. This is not financial advice. Check with your accountant and your state.
Yes. Putnam would say, okay, we're going to lease you this car. We need 30,000 down, 60,000 down, whatever, 10 or 20% or 15, whatever. And you now lease that car. So Insurance Guys Podcast pays Putnam at the end.
I got it.
You buy that car for $1. Bradley Flowers buys that car for $1 and you own it.
So you're technically financing it, but it's on paper a lease.
Yes.
And that you're paying the car. Got it. Okay. Interesting.
I'm not exactly sure how it all works because I don't do it. But we do have clients that, hey, I've leased it through Putnam.
Yeah.
And they send the buyer's order and the contract, it's on there. So
the reason I asked that, I insured someone in a prior life that was sort of famous, and all of her vehicles were leased. So it makes me wonder if there was something going on. Yeah. And they weren't exotic. It was like Lexuses and stuff.
I mean, you got to think, as a business owner, normally I would say money's cheap, right? But money's not as cheap as it once was here recently. Interest rates are going up. You can finance a car for, 2% on however long on a high value car. Why would you not finance it for 2%? Take that cash and let it make you money. And most of the people that are driving the cars that we insure, the super high value stuff are entrepreneurs. They're smart with money. And they'd rather take that cash and let it make money. I mean, you could stick that in a Merrill Lynch account and make more than 2%.
Right. Kenny, I just want to say thank you for coming on the show today. The people had questions and we had answers. That's all I can say about it.
For sure.
And I think you've given out some really good information that it sounds like about 20% of the insurance suit needs to come here to this podcast so they can get some answers to some questions relative to, I think what happens, if you just want my honest opinion, is the run-of-the-mill, everyday independent agency that doesn't specialize in exotic vehicles has that one client come in on a random Tuesday at 4:00 and they're like, hey, buddy, guess what I just bought that's sitting in the parking lot? And then they're stuck like, where do I insure this at? Yeah.
I mean, we had one call me last week, for instance. The guy had already sent the wire to a dealership in California. I'm sure y'all watch YouTube. Whistling Diesel bought a new car. He's a 24-year-old kid on YouTube. And I don't know if y'all ever watch his YouTube, but he crushes cars and destroys cars and wrecks airplanes and does all sorts of crazy things. I had an agent call me last week and said, how do I insure this? And I said, well, what's going on? He said, this 24-year-old kid just bought a Lamborghini, $550,000. He already sent the wire for the car. He's purchased it. He flew to California from Tennessee to buy the car, and he's at the dealership, and he can't leave with it.
And here we go.
So what happened?
Here's a tidbit for everyone listening out there. I'll give you all a little trick of my trade and not cut my hand off, so to speak. You can take a car and put it on Progressive for liability only. So you can take a Lamborghini, put it on Progressive. There's a little, I can't remember. It's like third button down says, is this a classic, antique, rare, collectible, whatever. Click the button, put the VIN number, put the make and the model, insure that thing for liability only. Or if your state allows you to put 150,000 stated value, and I can do up to 250 with Progressive. So you can take that stated value, insure the car. They can leave the dealership, explain to them, hey, the car is only insured for, some states is 150 with Progressive, others is 250. Your car is insured for this stated value of 250,000. If you drive out the parking lot, put it in a pole and total it, you're only going to get this much money. Make it very clear. And then you need about 3 days, go to your favorite MGA or whoever you use and say, hey, I need to put a car's value on Lloyd's of London. Syndicates will do it. CRC, we use CRC for some of it. And we insure the car basically on like an inland marine, the value of the car. And you can put the liability portion through Progressive.
Wow.
So if you got a 20-year-old kid that buys a Lamborghini, Hagerty, American Modern, American Collectors, none of those carriers are going to take that until they're 25 or 30. And if the car is leased, Hagerty ain't taking it. If it's a McLaren, if it's a single exotic, American Collectors won't take it. They need 2 or more because of claims history. American Modern won't take it if it's leased.
So then your only option is to do Progressive for the liability and then go through somebody like CRC to do the body of the car.
Yeah, pick an MGA you got a relationship with and say, hey, man, y'all have a transportation department. Here's what I need to do. I got this person that bought a Lamborghini, a McLaren, Ferrari, whatever it is. I need to put the value of the car on the inland marine. It's kind of like writing a piece of jewelry. The same premise is to put the value of that car through a Lloyd's syndicate.
Scott,
wow. Yeah.
Tell the crush and run story.
I don't know if we got time. You talking about that old boy that brought my crush and run over to my house?
Tell it real quick.
But why does that? What does that have to do with cars?
It doesn't. It's just funny.
And you just thought about that. So yes, I called a boy one time. I called the boy October time frame. I said, hey, I need number 10 crush and run. And we'll end the podcast with this, Kenny, and then I will let you off the hook here. But I called this old boy right around Halloween of last year. And I said, I need number 10 crush and run. He said, no problem. I'll bring it out to you next week. Never showed up. Kim and I went to Nashville. He called me on the phone, said, I got your crush and run, bringing it over to your house right now. I said, well, I'm in Nashville, but go ahead and put it on the driveway because we don't have anything on our driveway. We need this crush and run on my driveway and leave me the invoice in my mailbox and I'll pay you. Well, we get home and there's nothing there. There's no crush and run anywhere.
He put crush and run in somebody else's driveway.
He did, I guess. I don't know. Then I start texting him and calling him. Won't call me back, won't return a text, nothing. So a couple months rocks on and I still need my driveway, my crush and run on my driveway. And I pull up at a Navajo station in Arab, Alabama. And it was December the 23rd of 2021. I'll never forget the day. I pull up, I look over. There's a guy in a Sterling dump truck getting diesel. And on the side of his truck, it says Union Grove, Alabama. And I walk up to him and I said, you a company man or are you an owner operator? He said, I'm an owner operator. I run my own show. I don't work for nobody. I said, you haul sand, dirt, and gravel? He said, it's all I do every day. Haul it all day long. He gave me his card. I said, I need number 10 crush and run, one load, whole load brought to my house. I will show you where to put it. And then I'll take a tractor and I'll spread it out on my driveway. He said, no problem. He said, listen, tomorrow is Christmas Eve and the next day is Christmas Day. And it was over the weekend. He said, it's probably going to be the 27th or 28th when I call you, but I'm going to call you when I'm on my way. And I said, no problem. I'll be looking for you. Sure enough, 27th comes around about 8 o'clock in the morning, 7:45. My phone rings. And it's an unknown number. I didn't recognize the guy's name and number. I answered the phone. He said, I'm 15 minutes from your house. I got you a whole skid load of number 10 crush and run coming your way. I walk out to the front. I meet him at my driveway. He pulls in, and I did the thing where I air traffic controlled him into where I wanted it put, and he dumps a load on my edge of my driveway. And I said, man, that's perfect. And after he dumps the crush and run, He rolls his window down and he turned his truck off. That should have been my first sign right there. He turns his truck off and he rolls his window down. He said, "You got any critters out here?" I said, "What kind of critter you want?" "I got all kinds of critters out here. I got armadillo, skunk, polecat, raccoons, deer. What do you want?" And he said, "No, I'm talking about a dog. You got a dog out here that'll bite?" And I said, "Hell no, I ain't got no dog that'll bite. I got an English bulldog that's in the house asleep." And he said, "Well, my dogs need to use the bathroom. I'm going to let them out." He climbs. Now, remember, this guy's sitting in a Sterling dump truck, and he's probably sitting 8 feet high.
Yeah.
He climbs out of the dump truck. And the first, I didn't even see the dogs in the truck, but the first dog that climbs out is a part Australian Shepherd and part, what's that dog that it was? I told you it was, Bradley. It was a little,
I don't remember.
it was the Queen of England has a bunch of these dogs. They're the little,
The tall poodles?
no, they're not poodles. They're
Great Danes?
Corgi, yeah. Half I bet y'all ain't never seen one of these before. Half Australian Shepherd, half Corgi. So it looks like an Australian Shepherd, but it's got little bitty legs on it. That dog jumps down off of his truck and starts pissing all over my plants, and everywhere my dog's ever pissed, he's pissing all over everything. So over comes another Corgi, but this is a full-blooded Corgi puppy. It's like this big. And the thing jumps down and lands in his arms. He puts it down. It starts pissing all over the place. And this guy's standing there and he's looking at all my stuff, like just all around my house. He just kind of eyeballing everything. And he looks over at me, Kenny, and he says, "What do you do for a living?" And I said, "Well, I'm an insurance agent. And he goes, just like that. He goes, And I said, What'd you go for? And he said, "Well," he said, "I haul a lot of sand and I haul a lot of dirt and I haul a lot of gravel. And I go to a lot of people's houses." And he said, "I go to a lot of insurance people's houses." And he said, "The one thing I've noticed about going to insurance people's houses is every single time I go to one, they always live in this great big 2 or 3 story house, and they've got all these expensive cars and swimming pool in the back and all the toys and the RV parked out to the side of the house." And he said, "I come over here and you're in this little mama papa house, and it's a nice place, but it really only brings me to one conclusion." And I said, "Well, what's that?" And he said, "You are not a very good insurance agent."
I love that story.
I swear to God, that's a true story. That's exactly what was said and exactly how it happened right there. And I told that story at the One City World Tour. Bradley's been waiting on me to tell that story on the podcast. He said, "But I can only come to one conclusion." And I said, "What's that?" And he said, "You are not a very good insurance agent."
All right, close us out.
Kenny, thank you for being here today.
Yeah, for sure, guys. Thanks for having me.
We love you. We appreciate you being on. Hope we help some agents today better understand how to write exotic vehicles, of which I will never have one, because I will be lucky if I'm not riding a Schwinn bicycle by the time this is all said and done.
I was listening to that episode before we got on this. I need to go back and finish it, I guess.
That was recorded last week. It's fresh.
Oh,
yeah.
It's happening right now. All of it. We just didn't have time to get to it today. Guys, thank you so much for being a part of the show today. As I always end every episode, rewards come from action, not discussion. Get your ass out from behind that desk today. Go out into the big bad world. Build relationships. Make money for your family, for your wife, for your husband, for your kids' college fund. Go make money for them. Go make money for your parents that are struggling out there and need help. Figure out what your why is and go sell the shit out of insurance today. Write good business for the companies that you represent. Write good business for the agencies that you represent. And for God's sake, do not steal the damn money. Bradley Flowers, I love you.
Love you too, buddy. See you guys.
Kenny, we love you too.
Likewise, guys.
Yes, sir. Guys, you were listening to the Insurance Guys podcast. We love each and every one of you. And thank you so much for being a part of our family. We'll see you back here real soon. Take care. Thanks for listening to the Insurance Guys podcast. If you need to know more about me or you need to get in touch with Scott, you can always reach me at theinsuranceguyonline.com or email me at scott@iprotectinsurance.com. And if you need to get in touch with Mr. Bradley Flowers, go to portalinsurance.com or email him at bradley@portalinsurance.com. Guys, we love you. We thank you so much for listening to our show and being a part of our family. And we look forward to seeing you again next week on the next episode of the Insurance Guys podcast. Take care.